In this tutorial, I am going to be making the Mason bag by Sallie Tomato. Now, she does have her own tutorial on YouTube, so you can definitely use that one. But I'm going to go ahead and do one just as a regular sewist, making one. So I got a kit from the Quilted Cow, and it came with the fabric to make the mini version. So the pattern does come with the templates to make a full version or a mini version. So I have enough fabric here to make the mini version. So I'm going to I started off by making a copy of the template for the mini. And I've taken my exterior and I've just folded it enough to not be wasteful here. And then this is the fold right there, and I've lined it up and I have traced it, as you can see. And I am going to cut out 2 of these from the exterior and 2 of these from the lining to begin with. And so once I cut this off, I'll cut it off right here, and then I'll fold, there's a lot of fabric here, so then I'll fold it over again and I'll be able to cut out another one. So I ended up cutting everything out. I have got my grab tabs here, I've got my zipper tabs here, I've got the base for my exterior and the base for my lining. I have my 2 lining pieces made from the template, and I have my 2 exterior pieces here made from my template. So what I'm doing now is I've cut out enough soft and stable for each the exterior base and the 2 exterior side pieces there. And now I'm going to take these over to the ironing board, and I am going to baste these to the foam. So I do have 505 spray, but I also have this Quilter Select Free Fuse. I had one in my stash, and the Quilted Cow sent me one as well in my brand ambassador box. So this is semi-permanent fusible powder, and once you get one, they do sell like the replacement bags of powder, so you can just order those and then fill up this so you don't have to keep buying one of these. But all you do is, a little goes a long way, so you just pick that up, and then you're just gonna sprinkle the powder on, and I know you can't see it because it's white, but you just sprinkle the powder a little goes a long way. I can see a lot better how much is coming out. So once it's on, then you're going to put your material on, and the bottle does say put like a parchment paper or a pressing sheet over it, but I haven't yet. I just take, and I think that's because if you get some of the powder around it, it's not going to mess up your iron, but I usually just make sure that I sprinkle under, but just always be safe. And then I just give it a little bit of heat. It only takes about 4 seconds to really fuse that down. So you can just wait a little bit, move it all around, and once you're done, and you pick the iron up, once it starts to cool, then it will create a semi-permanent bond, just like you would basting spray. Okay, but then you don't have to deal with any basting spray, which is nice. All right, so there it is. It is ironed down. It's a little soft now just because it's hot, but once it starts to cool, you will really feel that bond there. And see, like I'm pulling at it. Now, if you do pull at it really hard, it will rip off. But all you want is that semi-permanent bond just to hold it in place. So now I'm going to do this to my other 2 pieces. So I really enjoy using this. Again, it's the Quilter Select Free Fuse, and the Quilted Cow sells it like this, and they also sell powder replacers in bags, so you can just buy a replacement, take this off, and keep filling it up so you don't have to keep buying the cardboard original ones. So here I decided to use some parchment paper because as I was sprinkling, it did get out and about, and I don't want to ruin my iron. So I'm just gonna put that over and then just apply heat. You really don't want to ruin your iron, no matter if it's cheap or expensive. So always protect your stuff. So I'm just gonna finish fusing this now. So now that these pieces are all basted down, see, look, beep, beep, beep. All right, I'm going to take these over the machine, and I'm going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And I am going to turn my stitch length up because this is just a base stitch, so you can use a longer length, but just don't forget to turn it back when you're all done doing the base stitch all the way around. So I'm going to do it to all 3 pieces, and then I'll trim off the excess foam on each one. So here we are. I've got everything basted down, and what a base stitch does, like when we fused it, that was just semi. I mean, it's easy to come up. So the base stitch is just a very secure way of holding everything in place. And I did reset my machine back to my regular stitch length, and then I took my zipper tabs here and my grab tabs, and the cotton material isn't very stiff, so it recommends to line all of these pieces with fusible interfacing. I like to use Shape Flex. It's lightweight. I keep a bin. I have a bin over there with big pieces, with scraps, because like especially when you're working with smaller pieces, even like a scrap piece like this size, you could get quite a few of these done. So I always keep bigger size scraps around just when I need them, especially for smaller projects like this. So now that those have their Shape Flex or fusible interfacing fused to them, we're going to move on to the next step. Alright, so with my zipper tape, I put on my zipper pulls, and I use a fork method. Probably a plastic fork is not the best. A metal fork is probably better. I looked on YouTube to how to do that because I don't have another fancy tool. I know the Quilted Cow does sell a zipper tool to help put these on that makes it a lot easy, but I don't have that one yet. Maybe one day. And I cut my zipper tape down to the correct size according to the pattern. And then I ended up doing a stitch line on both ends, so that way if one of these happens to get close to the end, it's not going to fall off. So now I have my zipper tabs here, and I put one right under my zipper, right sides up, and then I align my zipper. I'll align everything once I'm done. And then I take another zipper tab and I put it right side down, because you're kind of making a sandwich here. And then you're going to sew in from this edge according to the pattern. It is in step 3 under attaching zipper tabs, and it will tell you how much to sew in. So you're going to do this to both sides. Alright, so now that that's done, they're folded under like this, but now you're going to fold them so that your zipper tabs meet together and you can align them. And then you're going to sew from this side in 1/4 of an inch. You're going to top stitch it down, and then you'll do it to the other side as well. So again, take these, fold them back from both sides, align the edges. You can give this a good finger press, and then from here over 1/4 of an inch top stitch down, and again do it to both sides. So now I have one of my exterior pieces, and I have taken my zipper and I'm laying it face down, and mine looks to be just a little bit longer, so I'm just going to kind of center it the best that I can with those. And here you can change your stitch length to a larger one if you'd like. You don't have to, because you're just basting this on this step, you're just basting it down. It's up to you, but go ahead and clip this in place and then just stitch, I think it is 1/4 of an inch all the way down to baste it to this piece. So you can definitely use a zipper foot. I happen to have a narrow foot length, which I'm going to be using for most of the project, if not all of the project. And so I'm just aligning it to my 1/4 inch, and now I'm just going to sew all the way down to attach it. Now in this spot, if your zippers are causing an issue, when I get close to my zipper pulls, all I do is stop. I make sure the needle's down. I put this up, and then I just reach under here, and I just carefully, even if I have to move it this way, I just move those zipper pulls out of the way, and then I just readjust and put my presser foot back down, and then I just keep sewing. Okay, so I basted that zipper down, and now what I've taken is one of my lining pieces, and it's right sides together. So this is the right side, that's the right side. I lay it on top, I aligned everything, and now I'm clipped everything, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew 3/8 of an inch all the way down to connect my sandwich here. So now that that's done, you're going to open this up and you are going to press the exterior and the interior. I'll do this better with one hand. And you can even press it, you can finger press it, but anyway, you can line these up, you can use clips, you can give this a really good press, and when everything is lined up and clipped together, you're going to end up top stitching right here by close to the zipper, so that will hold those layers down and in place. So after you've top stitched, now we're going to repeat the same steps to attach the other exterior piece and the other lining piece. So here is my other exterior piece, and I'm going to lay this exterior side to exterior side, and I'm going to align everything, and then I'm going to sew down about 1/4 of an inch all the way down to attach that, and then we'll attach our lining. Alright, so once that's done, right side to right side, I'm going to flip it over so you see the lining, and now I'm going to take the lining and lay it right side to right side. I'm going to line everything up, and then I'm going to sew 3/8 of an inch all the way down, because when you sew 3/8 of an inch, it will go over that sewing line that you just did, which is your basting stitch, and it will hide that. Alright. So now that I finished sewing, I have folded back my lining and my exterior, and I have clipped everything really well to align everything, and now I'm going to flip it back to the front, and just like this side where I top stitch, now I'm going to top stitch the other side to hold everything in place. Alright, so now we're going to make these grab tabs, and basically what you do is you open it up, lay it, I guess, longwise, and then you're going to find the center here, and then you're going to take each of your raw edges and fold it into the center, just like that. And then you're going to take the top and fold it down to the bottom, and then you're going to really give it a good press at every stage. And you're going to do that to both of them. So now what you do is, with your exterior side up, you're going to align them. I kind of folded them in half and then kind of found the center and centered it here. And I've clipped them in place, and now we're just going to baste them down. Okay? Alright, so now it's time to attach the bases. So this is my exterior base, and I have just matched it along the side, and it's right side down, and underneath is my lining base, and that one is right side up. So right side up, lay the main panel down, make sure all this fabric isn't getting in the way, and then this one right side down, and now I'm going to do 3/8 of an inch all the way down to connect. Alright, so what I've done is I've taken my base and I folded it back, and then I took my lining and also folded it back, and I just clipped it, lining up the edges. So now what I'm going to do is here's my grab tab, I'm going to top stitch here, but you're not going to start at the edge. You have to measure in 5/8 of an inch from this side and 5/8 of an inch of this side. This is where you'll start sewing, and this is where you'll end sewing. So really important to make sure that you measure in each side, and then just sew in between the lines, starting at one, ending at the other. And for those of you who may be worried, I use these friction pens, which I got from the Quilted Cow. They come in lots of different colors. I have my little stash over there, and once you apply heat, it just erases and you don't see any after effects. So these are great pens to have. Alright, so I've top stitched here, but now we want to connect the base, both of our bases, to the other end. So the top one's going to be easy. I just fold it over until it meets that side. But this one, you kind of have to manipulate this, and I'm going to turn it over, kind of fold it up there in the middle. And this is the right side of my lining, and it's going to just wrap over and then meet the other side there. So you'll make a sandwich, and then you're just going to clip. Once you've got everything aligned, you're going to clip everything in place, and then you will sew 5/8 of an inch. Well, actually, not sew 5/8 of an inch. You need to measure in 5/8 of an inch from each side, just like the other one, and then sew it together at 3/8 of an inch. All right, so there we are. I measured in 5/8 of an inch from each side. Again, I used my pen, and then I sewed at 3/8 of an inch there. And now we're just gonna, just kind of like creating a tube. So now we're just gonna pop everything out, just like that. And now I have to, this is the side I sewed, and now I'm going to top stitch this side. So I accidentally, on the first side that I did, I didn't follow the directions right away, the right way. So you sew 5/8 of an inch in when you attach the bases, and you sew 5/8 starting and stopping when you are top stitching. So I actually had to go back and open up both of these edges on my first side, so that way I had that little bit of space of opening at the 5/8 mark. All right. I still haven't top stitched this. I'm going to go back and top stitch that. But before I do that, I'm going to measure in 5/8 of an inch, just so I don't forget where I am starting and where I am stopping. There we go. All right, off to top stitch. Okay, so getting this to top stitch in here might be a little tricky. So what I did was I opened up my zippers, and then I fed my project in through the zippers here. I took off the front of my sewing machine, so that way I could easily get this in here to do my top stitching on this other side. So. Alright, so the next step is to find the center of each of the sides of your bag. So what I did was just took this edge to this edge, folded it in half, and marked the center on the lining, and marked the center, oh, can't see it very well, I'll have to remark it, marked the center of my exterior. And then I came on this side, marked the center just by folding it corner to corner and on my lining. And then I also did my bases. I folded this side to this side, and then I marked my center, and then I also marked it on the inside so I could see where the center is. So you want to turn your bag so the lining side is up and the exterior is tucked there in the middle, and then you want these out of the way, so you're just going to take these and my zipper's open here, just going to tuck them in, okay? Tuck them into the middle because you want them out of the way for the next step. So go ahead and do that. Alright, so with my my lining has been tucked in over the zipper here in the middle, and then you can open this side and just make sure it's tucked in. But now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find this center point, and right here on the bottom panel, you're going to want to match up those center points, and you're going to want to clip. And then what you're going to want to do, you just take this lining and just move it out, okay? Yeah, that's why you have that 5/8 there that allows you to open this up. So now you're just gonna straighten that out, that corner, and you're gonna clip here all the way down. All right, and this side too, get it in there as best as you can in the corner there. And match up these sides, make sure your lining is pulled out of the way. You don't want to be sewing over your lining. And then this side right here, clip that into place with the lining out. Oops, coming apart. All right, match up your edges. In that corner, I'm going to put a clip there. All right, and then we're going to turn it around. So this is the other side. This is the zipper. So this is that side panel. Make sure that lining is tucked in, and then you're going to take the center point here and just directly below it to, this is the base. All right, you're going to match up your center points, and then you're going to start clipping all the way around. I got to get more clips. All right. I was a little confused on this part. I was doing it wrong before, and then I had to like really sit there and think about it. And as said before, Sallie Tomato does a tutorial, so I went and kind of looked it up, and took me a moment to get this part together, but just make sure all your lining is tucked away, your corners are matched up. You can even put a clip in the corner. Good, we're getting there. This is gonna create that bag shape. All right, almost done. And one more. You can just search for her on YouTube. She does a lot of good tutorials on her patterns. So, all right, there we go. So again, there's the zipper. I have that side pinned together to the base, not to the lining. The lining is pulled out of the way, so that's the base. My exterior base, exterior side, and on the other side, exterior side pinned to the exterior base, as well as the sides. So now what we're going to do is we are going to sew all the way around 1/4 of an inch to connect to all those sides, on both sides. Alright, so here's what it looks like. There's the side. There it is. I had a little trouble around the corners, and so I just went over it again. You're not going to see it. What just matters is if you stay the consistent 1/4 of an inch. I had to rip out one part because it got kind of off. But I got that side and I got that side done. Something that I used that I got from the Quilted Cow was this 6 finger, and it really saved me because oftentimes I put my fingers in and I get too close. So I was able just to put this on the material, and it would help feed it through the feed dogs and keep everything together as I was pressing down. So I really did enjoy using this. So now we're going to repeat those steps to do the lining. Alright, so I brought out my lining from the inside. It was tucked in. And what we want to do is attach the lining to the sides and the bottom. But if we do it just like this, you're going to get this raw edge, which we don't want. So we want to be able to match up right side to right side. So what you're going to do is you're really going to have to manipulate this fabric, which is okay. This is foam. Like if you squish it, it will pop out and retain its shape. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one side, and then you're really going to have to just squish this in, and you have to bring it around. All right, just squish it in until it meets its side, and then you're going to line up those center points, and you're going to clip, and then you'll do that all the way. So yeah, don't be afraid, just squish it. It'll work out. You need to be able to attach your pieces. So right sides to right sides, and sorry, you can't really see, but there I am. It's a little bit easier when I bring it up towards me. This is why it's really important to have that 5/8 loose, so that way you can match everything up, and there's that extra give there. And then we'll match the bottom here. Alright, you can use pins, you can use Wonder Clips, but just squish that in, so that way you can get to where you need to be. If you need to adjust as you go, adjust as you go. It's going to be a tight fit, especially when you are sewing this, so the suggestion is to definitely use a narrow foot or even your zipper foot. And on the outside, when we were connecting the exterior, we used 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. But since we want our lining to be a little bit smaller, you want to use at least a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. But if you can, see, it looks a little weird. Everything is squished inside, but it's all pinned together. But if you can, try to go up to like a 1/2 inch. All right, it's going to be pretty tight, especially around the bottom corners. And when you sew, make sure the lining side is face down on your sewing machine. Okay, and then you can move this out of the way and then sew right here as you're going, as you're turning and sewing. All right, so use at least 3/8 of an inch. If you can go up to 1/2 inch, go up to 1/2 inch. So this probably wasn't my favorite part to sew. It looks a little rough, but I ended up getting it. I forgot to leave a little opening at the bottom because we have to turn it through here. So I left a little opening, and so that way we can sew the other side closed. So if you already stitched it and forgot, just like I had to do, go back and I ripped a few 3 to 4 inches out of the bottom there. Okay, and then I made sure to back tack on either side before I opened this up, so as I opened it, it wouldn't rip even more than I wanted it to. Alright, so here it is, all turned out. The exterior's on the inside, and this is the side I closed. It's not bad. I mean, some areas are a little bit rougher than I'd like, but I am not going to fret about them. But right here is where we have that opening. So what we did, this is the other side here. So all I did was I moved the lining back, and then I poked out those corners and that side there, just poked it out, and then I was able to take this and realign the fabrics and then put it back into my machine and sew it closed. The other option would be just to, if you didn't want to do that, just to take your opening that you left open and fold the fabric under and then top stitch it or hand sew it closed. But either option works. So now we just have this side to connect, and it's going to work the same way as we did the other side. Alright, so I had to wrap this around and squish everything in, and so I've matched up these raw edges. And on this one, I have actually marked out my opening. I don't know if it was necessarily needed on the last part, but it is needed on this part because there's nowhere else that this bag is open. So you do need to for sure leave about a 4 to 5 inch opening on this side so you can turn it inside out, and then we'll sew that opening closed, and the lining should tuck right inside the bag. Okay, just go slow. This is not my favorite part, but I'll make it work. Just go slow. Use whatever techniques you have to make it work. Alright, so I turned it inside out through my opening here, and what I'm doing is I'm just going and I am just checking to make sure everything is sewed, because before I sew that opening closed, I just want to make sure everything is okay. I know I've got some like puckers, but you know what, I'm gonna live with that. It's inside, it's not too bad. So it looks pretty good. So here I'm just gonna fold my fabric under and align that, and I'm just gonna top stitch it closed. Alright, so now that it is sewn closed, you can turn it right side out, and I do have these markings from the pen, and I'll just take it over to the iron and give it a press, and those will just disappear. But other than that, just going to poke everything out, and I have my completed mason bag. And since I did a double zip, I can open it and close it from any side. So there we go. There it is. There's the grab tabs on both sides. There's the bottom, and then you can open it up, and there's the lining, and it works pretty well. So trying to get that 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 inch really made the lining fit pretty well inside of the bag. So there it is, the mason bag.